Lord or Dragon. For simplicity's sake, let's do a new wizard deck. So I'm going to click New Wizard Deck, and that pulls this over again the way it did when I was going to edit a deck. So we've got a couple of things that we need to name. We need to drop a name in for the deck. Let's call this Nine Walkers, Nine Riders. You'll see it starts off with the Alatar card as a default, but we can change which wizard is represented for the deck by changing this pull down. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that this is not going to automatically put the character into the deck. What I need to do is I need to start adding some cards. So let's start with our characters. So we're going to put Gandalf in here. We're going to put 3 copies, and we're going to add him to the deck. So he appears in the correct field, the text box for characters. He's not in a starting pool because you don't start with your wizard. But again, he started out as the Fallen Wizard version. So we need to fix that. This is the default setting when a wizard is added. We change the F from Fallen to H for Hero. This is in brackets. And then in parentheses, we change the set name from White Hand to The Wizards. And there we've got the correct version of Gandalf. So let's add some more characters. This is going to be a deck with the 9 characters from the Fellowship. So let's start adding some hobbits here. So we've got Frodo. There he pops up. We've got Sam, Merry, and Pippin. But let's say we want to, well, let's finish adding characters. Aragorn, Boromir, so we got everybody there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's everybody. But nobody's in our starting pool. So I think I want to start with the hobbits. I don't want to have to bring them into play at Bag End later in the game. So let's decide that these 4 hobbits are going to be my starting company. Now I cut them from my character collection and I paste them into the pool. So this is my starting pool, and this is characters that I'll have a chance to start the game with. They also want some minor items. So let's add 2. Now again, when you add a card, it's going to normally land in one of 3 fields. It's going to go into the resources box, the hazards box, or the characters box. And if you need it in a starting pool or a sideboard or somewhere else, you need to cut it and paste it from the field and add it to the one where it goes. So we're going to take our 2 elven cloaks and cut them and paste them into the pool for starting. So we have our 2 minor items that we can start with. Let's also decide that we don't want all of these characters in the deck right away. We want to put a couple in the sideboard and maybe bring them into play later in the game. So let's take Boromir and put him in the sideboard. And let's take Gimli and put him in the sideboard. All right. So now we've got our starting pool, our characters for the deck, a sideboard, no resources or hazards yet. So let's start adding some cards. So let's do Build a Pony. Goldberry. Golem. You'll see these are all going into the resources field. Rangers of the North. We want some rings. Gandalf's going to test some rings. And we want some other items that are thematic. So the Arkenstone may not have played a part in the Fellowship, but it's going to help me bring my dwarf in with extra influence, because bringing all 9 of the Fellowship in is a little tricky when you've only got 20 points of general to use. All right, Gandalf needs Glamdring, of course, and he might want some Hobbit lore to help control all those hobbits. Let's put a few more cards in there. We're going to put 3 halfling stealth because they're always... Whoops. Let's change that. Let's do 1 halfling stealth and 3 halfling strength. So I could change the numbers over here, or I can just as easily just punch the buttons and change them. So halfling stealth, we're going to take to 1. Halfling strength, we'll do 3. And there they change over here as well. And let's keep going. Gotta have some marvels told. What else? Some smoke rings to get the other characters into the deck when I've got influence to control them. Let's turn those gold rings into lesser rings. Again, for some influence. And just for thematic purposes, let's add the Red Book of West March. All right, so we've got 32 resources. Let's add some hazards. Let's do an ambusher. Let's do an assassin. Everybody loves the cave drake. Now let's add the 9 ring wraiths, the 9 permanent event Nazgul. This runs a little slow, but you're watching me build an entire deck, so it shouldn't go, you shouldn't expect it to go that quick. How many have we got? We've got 8 of them. We need Uvatha. So there are my 9 ring wraiths. Who else do we need? The mouth, of course. Everybody loves the mouth. Let's put some power built by waiting, just to get my cards out of my hand. An unexpected outpost, a couple copies of that. Chance of being lost. Let's give us 3 of those. See if we can't punish some characters or some companies that don't have rangers with them. Fell Beast to make these Nazgul a little more playable. Fury of the Iron Crown, because that'll make them tougher. Many Sorrows Befall, because that goes in every deck. And a couple of Twilights, just in case I face something I don't want to see. Alright, so there's our 32 resources, 32 hazards. We've only got 2 characters on our sideboard. Let's add a few more. Let's do the places that won't get hit by my Nazgul. So let's put some Lost and Free Domains. Now again, you'll see they're going into my hazard deck first. And we're going to cut them and paste them into the sideboard. So let's do that first. Lost and Free Domains. Maybe some Nameless Things. Rolled down to the sea. So let's grab these 3 cards, 7 cards actually, cut them, and move them to the sideboard. So we're back to 32 hazards, which matches our 32 resources. We've got some cards in our sideboard. Let's also add some more resources to our sideboard. So these are going to be cards that I wouldn't want to draw at the beginning of the game, or they might not be useful in a particular game. So they go in my sideboard and I'll bring them into the game later if I need them. Alright, so I've added the resources that I want on my sideboard. Now I have to cut them and paste them into the sideboard. And there they are. So, we've got a pool of characters to start. We've got some characters in the deck. We've got an even number of resources and hazards. Let's see how many creatures we've got. We've got 7 full out creatures, plus 9 that are half and half, and another one that's the Mouth of Sauron. So we've got plenty to get to our 12. We can choose what dice we want to play when